Do you believe in giants? Giants are titans who walk the earth, whose tales are etched into the oldest pages of history. Goliath, the colossus whose name thunders through the ages, wasn't alone. There were others, beings of unimaginable power and terrifying size, who challenged not just armies but human comprehension itself. We're about to dive into a past, unveiling epic battles that seem impossible to modern eyes. But what lies behind these legends? Brace yourself for a journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about strength, courage, and the power of faith. This isn't just a video. It's an expedition into the heart of ancient mysteries that still leave us curious and speechless today. Stay with us and discover the giants forgotten by history and present in the pages of the Holy Bible. Goliath, that legend from ancient times, is a name that still resonates today when we talk about giants, true colossi that defy imagination. His saga is engraved in the pages of the Bible, specifically in the second book of Samuel, a narrative that takes us back in time. This warrior, born from the ranks of the Philistines, wasn't just a giant in stature, but also in his combat feats, especially aboard his formidable war chariot. The scriptures paint a vivid picture. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. 1 Samuel 17:4. For those of us used to meters and centimeters, these measurements might sound foreign, but translating this to our language, we're talking about someone over 9 feet tall. Can you imagine the size of this guy? A figure who, just by raising his arms, probably made the sunlight detour around him. And it wasn't just Goliath's height that commanded respect. The warrior donned a bronze armor that seemed more like a personal fortress, covering him from head to toe. His mail coat, also made of bronze, weighed as much as a small chariot, around 125 pounds. To top it off, his legs were protected by bronze greaves, and on his back, a bronze javelin with a tip weighing between 15 to 20 pounds. As if that wasn't enough, Goliath even had a shield bearer, carrying a shield so large it seemed more like a moving wall, ready to deflect any attack that came his way. Stop and picture that scene, a true metal monster advancing across the battlefield, his armor glinting in the sun, imposing and terrifying. Just the act of breathing must have been frightening for anyone nearby. It's not hard to see why Goliath's adversaries quaked just hearing his name. To challenge this giant wasn't for the faint of heart. It was to enter a fight that seemed lost before it even began. Goliath wasn't just a giant in height, but in the sheer terror he sowed in the hearts of all those daring enough to cross his path on the battlefield. There stood Goliath, towering like a fortress, taunting the Israelites with words that cut through the air sharper than any sword. "Why do you line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and you merely servants of Saul? Choose a man to face me. If he defeats me, we will become your subjects, but if I prevail, you will serve us." This challenge, a tradition from ancient battles, echoed across the valley, promising to decide the conflict with the combat of just 2 warriors, one from each side. For 40 days, morning and evening, Goliath kept up his challenge, his voice booming among the hills, a constant reminder of his menacing presence. Each of his words was a blow to the morale of the Israelites, who felt powerless before such a giant. Far from there, in the green fields near Bethlehem, a young man named David tended to his father's flocks, oblivious to the tensions of conflict. Too young for combat, his connection to the war was limited to the fact that his 3 brothers were at the front, under Saul's command. Jesse, David's father, was restless with concern for the safety of his sons. Driven by worry, he tasked David with bringing provisions to his brothers and to bring back news of them. So, at dawn, David set off, entrusting the care of his sheep to a keeper, carrying provisions for the Israelite camp with him. Upon arrival, David found the camp abuzz, the warriors in battle stance, and an atmosphere of tension and anticipation in the air. Still unaware of the colossal challenge Goliath represented, David was about to become involved in an event that would not only shape his destiny, but also the destiny of his people. History was unfolding, and the young shepherd was at the heart of it, yet unaware of the crucial role he would play in this epic saga. David, driven by a mix of curiosity and perhaps an adventurous spirit, decided to check out the source of the commotion up close. He left his things with the provisions keeper and ran towards his brothers, eager for a reunion and news. It was at that very moment, amidst exchanges of greetings and casual talks, that Goliath, the human mountain from Gath, made his entrance, hurling his usual taunts into the wind, and David caught every word. Picture the scene. David, standing beside his brothers, notices how the atmosphere radically changes. Goliath's boasts spread through the valley, and like magic, the Israeli warriors begin to dodge, seeking refuge in their tents, seized by a palpable fear. Remember, David is the rookie in all this mess. It was his first time facing the imposing threat that Goliath represented. But upon seeing that colossal figure, with his defiant armor mocking the armies of Israel, something inside David was ignited. The dishonor to God coming from that giant was more than he could bear in silence. It was the 41st day of Goliath's challenges, but for David, it was as if everything began at that moment. And that moment was all he needed for a profound outrage to take hold of him. Without wasting time, David begins to inquire among the nearby soldiers about the reward for the one who would bring down the Philistine, saying, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" The response came in chorus, everyone reaffirming the promise of a great reward for the brave one who would face and defeat Goliath. With a bravery that left everyone dumbfounded, David presented himself before King Saul, declaring himself ready for the showdown with the giant. Imagine the expression of disbelief on Saul's face as he encountered a young shepherd, unarmed and without military experience, offering to face the most formidable of the Philistine warriors. David, with a determination that seemed to emanate from every fiber of his being, faced Saul and declared, "No one should lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul incredulously responded, "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David was not discouraged. He recounted to Saul his feats as a shepherd. "While tending my father's sheep, I faced lions and bears that tried to take a lamb. I chased them, confronted them, and rescued the prey from their jaws. If they turned on me, I seized them, struck them down, and killed them. Just as I overcame the lion and the bear, this Philistine who defies the armies of the living God will be no different. The Lord, who saved me from the claws of the wild beasts, will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul then relented, "Go, and the Lord be with you." Saul attempted to equip David with his own armor, dressing him in a coat of mail, strapping a bronze helmet on his head. However, David could hardly move. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul. "I am not used to them." And so he cast aside the heavy armor. Armed only with his staff, David picked 5 smooth stones from a stream, placed them in his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand, advanced towards the challenge that awaited him. Dressed in his simple shepherd's clothes and armed so modestly, he approached the decisive moment. Goliath, with his shield-bearer in front, advanced, looking down on David with disdain. Merely a youth, seemingly harmless. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" taunted Goliath, cursing David by his gods. "Come here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." But David, imbued with unwavering faith, replied, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today the Lord will deliver you into my hands. I'll strike you down, cut off your head, and this very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals. Then the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel." David remained unshaken in the face of the towering Goliath, armed only with his sling and a single stone, a striking contrast to the giant whose armor weighed nearly 100 kilograms. With a skill that defied logic, he slung the stone, which flew accurately through the air, finding its mark on the Philistine's forehead. In that decisive moment, Goliath fell, becoming nothing more than a memory etched in the earth. Today, all will witness that salvation does not come by the sword or spear. "The battle is the Lord's, and he has given us victory," David proclaimed. As the giant approached, filled with rage, David, driven by divine courage, ran to meet him. Reaching into his bag, he took out a stone and, with his sling, launched it with lethal precision. The stone, guided by a greater force, embedded itself in the Philistine's forehead, causing him to fall face down to the ground. Thus, with nothing more than a sling and a stone, David brought down the colossal enemy. Without hesitation he approached, took Goliath's sword, and with it sealed the giant's fate, beheading him. Witnessing the fall of their champion, the Philistines were seized with panic and fled in disarray. Goliath's defeat was the signal for the Israelites to advance. With a triumphant shout, they pursued the Philistines to the gates of Gath and Ekron, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Following the pursuit, the Israelites plundered the enemy camp, marking the victory with spoils. David, carrying the giant's head as a trophy, marched to Jerusalem, a tangible symbol of his victory. The weapons of the Philistine, now spoils of war, were stored in David's tent, silent witnesses to a feat that would echo through the ages, an undeniable testament to the power that resides in faith and courage. The story of David and Goliath transcends centuries, resonating as a symbol of courage, faith, and the human capacity to overcome titanic challenges. At the heart of this discussion, curiosity arises about the origin of Goliath. Could he have been a descendant of the Nephilim or the Rephaim? The speculation deepens when we consider biblical texts that mention these beings of colossal stature. The Bible, in passages like Deuteronomy 2:11 and 2:22, as well as Joshua 12:4, introduces us to the Rephaim, while Deuteronomy 3:11-13 highlights the figure of Og, king of Bashan, described as the last of the Rephaim giants. His iron bed of impressive dimensions is cited as proof of his physical grandeur. Only Og, king of Bashan, was left of the remnant of the Rephaim. Behold, his bedstead was an iron bedstead. Is it not in Rabbah of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, after the cubit of a man. Furthermore, theories linking the Philistines with the Anakim add another layer of mystery to the figure of Goliath. Being from Gath, a city of strong Anakim presence, Goliath stands out not only for his physical prowess, but also for his possible ancestral legacy. The hypothesis of a genetic condition such as acromegaly or familial gigantism suggests a scientific explanation for his unusual stature, indicating an autosomal dominant inheritance. Goliath was a colossal figure, a true giant among men. The narratives of giants in the Bible certainly extend beyond just the story of Goliath. Scriptures in 2 Samuel 21:15, 22:1 Chronicles 24:8 unveil other epic encounters involving colossal figures who share blood ties or are associated with Goliath. In one such dramatic combat, David faces off against Ishbi-Benob, who stands out among the giant descendants for his impressive spear, weighing 300 shekels of bronze. At a critical moment in the battle, when David is about to be overpowered, Abishai heroically intervenes, eliminating the Philistine threat and saving David's life. This act leads David's companions to make him swear not to return to the battlefield, to preserve his life, the lamp of Israel. Another episode recounts the feat of Sibbecai the Hushathite, who in Gob confronted and defeated Saph, also a giant descendant, once again demonstrating the bravery of David's followers. In Gath, a unique confrontation takes place with a giant who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, a total of 24, a formidable adversary who challenged Israel but met his end at the hands of Jonathan, son of Shimei, David's brother. These additional accounts of confrontations with giants underline that Goliath was not an isolated figure. There were others of his lineage confronting the Israelites, including Ishbi-Benob with his spear over 3 kilograms, Saph and Lahmi, Goliath's brother, whose spear was like a weaver's beam, and the unnamed giant with extra digits, symbols of his uniqueness and threat. The stories of Goliath and the other giants are not only testimonials of divine power and God's strength, but they are also sources of inspiration, teaching that regardless of the size or the nature of the challenges and adversaries we face in life, there is a greater force, our Almighty Creator, ready to protect us and deliver us from any danger. As the veil of ancient times is lifted, revealing truths that transcend centuries, the saga of giants like Goliath and his kin invites us to question not only the stories we've inherited, but also the very nature of what's possible. Each recounted battle, every epic showdown we challenge you to explore with us is not just a dive into history, but a journey that redefines the boundaries of what we believe is possible. But this is just the beginning. Imagine how many other stories, how many other secrets await to be uncovered, each with the power to transform what we know, what we feel, and how we see the world around us. If you feel inspired, challenged, or just curious, this is your moment. Join us on this ongoing journey. Explore with us the mysteries yet to be revealed. Your voice, your presence makes this exploration all the richer. Like, comment, share your insights, and most importantly, don't forget to follow our channel so you never miss the chance to unravel the next great mystery together. Your next click could be the key to a new discovery. We're waiting for you.